As a recent discovery, it's an incredible opportunity to work on such rare, important paintings. Being some of the first conservators to work on the wall painting is a very unusual opportunity and a great challenge. I'm Sam Whitaker. I'm a wall painting conservator. I'm here at Calverley working on the conservation of the Tudor wall paintings. I got into wall painting conservation as a result of having previously studied fine art. Wall painting conservation combined different aspects of my interests: painting, architecture, the history of art, and travel as well, because obviously you have to go to the place where the wall painting is. The advice I would give to anyone looking at doing conservation as a career opportunity would be look at as much art as possible, and so you really develop your eye as well as your theoretical knowledge, and to combine a love of art, looking at it and experiencing it, with the more academic side of things, so studying either art history or science. What makes me excited about wall painting conservation is the opportunity to interact with historic important art in a very tactile way that not many people have the opportunity to do, which is the kind of, for me, is the most rewarding aspect of conservation.
I'm Ilaria, and I'm a second-year student at the Master in Wall Painting Conservation at the Courtauld Institute of Art in London. As part of my curriculum, I'm now undertaking an internship at Calverley Old Hall with Opus Conservation. I first found out about conservation on a trip to Florence when I saw some conservators that were conserving wall paintings there. So I approached these conservators and I asked them what they were doing. In that case, they were cleaning the paintings and carrying out some emergency stabilization as well. And I remember there was a book available in the bookshop about it, so I read it and I became a little expert about that book, and then I tried to look into possible career path, and I evaluated different sort of academic possibilities to get into conservation. I am currently working on stabilizing the paintings on the northwest wall. I start by applying a layer of lens tissue, and this is an intervention layer through which I will carry out the following steps. So first I apply water throughout to wet the lens tissue, and then I will pat on the surface using a sponge to absorb any soot or dirt that sits on top of the paint layer. And finally I apply the adhesive throughout the surface, so that paint layer is consolidated and the pigment particles are bound together again. And finally, I remove the intervention layer. I think what's special about wall painting conservation is the often vast scale of the paintings, the fact that they are often related to an architectural context. So when you are surrounded by these types of paintings, you can really get a sense of what it might have felt like at the time.
It's really important when you're trying to design a treatment for a wall painting that it's appropriate for the specific materials of that painting. It was clear here that there was something a bit unusual going on with the paintings. The plaster was immediately a bit different to what we'd be expecting for this era and location. So we took some samples and did analysis, and it's a gypsum plaster, which is interesting, unusual, and requires a particular sort of approach in the practical work. The thing that I really like about wall painting conservation is you're working very immediately with a real direct bit of material history. So it's exciting to come across a brush hair or a fingerprint in the painting. It's a direct link back to whoever executed it. For anyone who wanted to get into conservation, I would assume that they already have an interest in art and history and heritage, and so by following those interests and going to historic properties or going to art galleries, you may well encounter conservators at work, because increasingly conservation on display is a sort of initiative that lots of heritage bodies are following. There are many different aspects to wall painting conservation. So there's the investigations phase, there's inspection, there's the actual practical treatment phase, and there's a lot of documentation that goes with it. So try all those different things, and then probably try some other artefacts as well, because maybe stained glass is your thing. I got my first work experience by approaching a wall painting conservation firm, and they very kindly put me up for some site work, and it was invaluable, because you know, if you like spending 3 days in front of a painting in a church somewhere in the English countryside or wherever it may be. Our national body is ICON, the Institute for Conservation, and they would probably be a good first place to stop and see the different specialisms, different materials that you can work with. And from there you can also find conservators if you wanted to approach someone directly for advice.